Hey, hi, how are you? Yeah, let's plan this Bali trip. It's been a while. We have been thinking of doing this for a very long time and we have never done this. Okay, chal. I'll check something online and let you know. Chalo, see you. New Year, Bali.
A few minutes later.
Bali ads. Has this ever happened to you? That something that you have been talking to your friends online or on a call and then suddenly you start seeing those advertisements on the Instagram platform. It's not only Instagram that's tracking you. There are hundreds and thousands of websites that have this Facebook SDK integrated, which eventually sends data to Instagram. On the screen, you can see some of the websites that I have interacted and they have sent my data to Instagram. Basically, talking about what I have done on their platform to Instagram, and then that's how Instagram knows a lot about me, more than what my parents would know or my friends would know. With that said, we'll look into this video and see what are different secret tactics that Instagram uses to track you and create a profile around you. We'll also figure out some of the ways that we can stop or prevent or limit this data collection, and what as a user you can do to protect yourself online, especially from these pervasive advertisements. With that said, let's start the intro. Let's start to understand how Instagram collects data. Instagram, as part of Meta, does not only rely on the app metrics and the things that you do on the app. Because Facebook is deeply integrated with millions of websites online, it collects data from all of these places. So for example, let's say you're logged into a Facebook account and then you visit each of these websites. Then Facebook creates a profile about you, what you like, what you don't like, what websites you visit, what kinds of places you go, what kinds of food you order, what kind of news you read, what kind of things you like. All these things help Facebook to understand what kind of a person you are, and that helps them do a targeted advertisement. If you can see the metrics on the screen, there are over 4 million websites which have this Facebook tracking pixel integrated on their platform, on their website. For Google Analytics, the number is huge. It's more than 32 million. There's another website that also does the same metrics for apps. So it's not only limited to websites. For apps, there's this thing called Facebook SDK, and 42 Matters, which is an app intelligence company, does some metrics around it. So almost 320,000 apps on Google Play Store have this Facebook SDK included in it, and around 300,000 of iOS apps also there which have this Facebook SDK integrated. This SDK is not only used for targeted advertisement but also for features like sign in with Facebook and all those kinds of things. The other features that it provides the developer is also having tracking. For example, let's say if it's an e-commerce app or something where you are able to purchase things, it can track events like whether you have added something to the cart, whether you're purchasing it, all those kinds of things, and all these data are being sent to Facebook server. There are other custom events that are also being sent, which is being tracked as part of this SDK, and that's why it makes the lives of developers very easy and also gives detailed metrics of business intelligence teams in these companies. On this app events reference page on Facebook, you can see more than 70 events that are being tracked and also option to create custom events. Now let's see the types of data Instagram uses to serve an ad to you. The third party reporting is the one that we are talking about. It's also called as activity information from ad partners. So ad partners need not be huge companies which have signed contract with Facebook. Any company that uses a Facebook SDK into their app or website, basically they are partnering a contract with Facebook where they're sharing this data, and in return they are getting advertisements served on the platform. How it benefits them is that Facebook as an ad broker gets some ad slots on their application or website, and based on the person who is visiting that website, they serve ad relevant to them. For example, let's say if I'm more into fitness and running, I would start seeing ad related to fitness and running gear, and because that's relevant to me, I'll click on that ad, and because I've clicked on that ad, that's what's being served on a particular website. That website gets part of some earning of. So it helps both Facebook, it helps the ad serving website or the APK or the app, and it also helps the customer find new product. That's how this whole cycle works. You can see this document on Facebook's page where it mentions what are ad partners and the kind of data that's being collected and how it's being used. However, tracking is not only limited to Facebook SDK. Advertisers can also upload a list of users with details such such as name, first name, last name, email address, mobile number to the Meta business panel, and from there Meta would track it or map it to the profiles that it has on their platform. So whenever these advertisers they are sending, or for example they are trying to market their product to their audience, they wouldn't know exactly whom these advertisements are being shown, but they can ensure that if these persons are on Meta or any of Meta products, for example Facebook or Instagram, these would be shown those ads. The common use case would be when you sign up for, let's say, when you purchase watch, the watch company has this list of users and they upload this list to their business panel, so that once they launch a new watch, for example in the same segment, you would start seeing those ads onto your platform because your name is added on the list. The way it does is that, for example, let's say if you have the email, the same email that you gave to the watch company, and that is in their Excel sheet which is being uploaded to Meta panel, and Meta also has the same email on your profile, so they would map that profile to the customer list of this particular advertiser, and then you will get those ads. The third way Meta targets you is based on the profile information, the things that you have on your profile. For example, employment status, marital status, your education, your hometown, your job. All those things would include and create a profile for you. The nastiest of all is the social interaction. For example, let's say I see a hair fall clinic ad page on my Instagram feed and I interact with it. For example, let's say I like that or I submit a form of the appointment for it. Now, if any of my friends who are shown the same ad, they would see that a same interactive with it, that would probably they would infer that I have some issue with my hair. That is not something that I would want to tell to them, but now Instagram made sure that they get to know about my hair issue. Towards the end of this video, we'll talk about how you can disable all of these and make yourself private the way you would want to be in real life. Let's quickly jump into the belly of the beast and see on Instagram how these things work. What are different settings that we can change and how Instagram tracks us throughout the ecosystem. This is my profile on Instagram, and if you have not yet followed me, make sure you follow me. Jokes apart, here you can go on the more section, and here is the settings. Once I enter settings, go into the see more into account center. This is where you can control all the options across the Meta ecosystem. This is the profiles that are connected on my Instagram and Facebook, and then their connected experiences and all. We would not delve into it. The main parts that we'll be looking into for today is password and security, your information and permissions, ad preferences. These are the main features which control the data that you're sharing and how it's being used by advertisers. Let's quickly go to the your information and permissions. So we'll come to the password and security towards the end of the video, where in less than 1 minute I'll wrap up the different security settings that you need to look. First we'll talk about the privacy aspect of it. Your information and permissions. If you see here access information, you can see Facebook is where you can access information. You can see these are different options that you see. There's this download information. I'll show in the later half of the video where all the information that they have about me, I've downloaded it, and it's pretty creepy. You would see there are few posts where I didn't mention what the location was, but because of the metadata of my image, they were able to figure out exact latitude and longitude where that photo was taken. They also have data stored on the recent IP addresses from where I have logged in. Also, there's a section where they try to find what place you belong to or what place you are currently living in, and that's pretty accurate. If you can see here, there is the search history. Your activity of Meta Technologies is the one that I was talking about, and if you see here these recent activity, these are the activities of the different third parties that they are being sent to Meta. For example, if I sort here based on the most activity, you would see that Truecaller has sent almost 3,141 interactions to Meta about me. Any kind of data could be. InShorts is a news app. It also sent almost over 2,000 data points about me when I was using their app. They send that data back to Facebook using the Facebook ad network. Now let's see the Truecaller and what options we have here. If you see here, there's an option to disconnect. I'm not pretty sure what exactly it does. Probably it stops data being sent by Truecaller on their platform. I'm not sure. If you see what are the interactions here, you would have to download it. I have it downloaded. I'll show you towards the end of the video. You can see the examples of activity that they receive. For example, logging into the app, opening an app, searching for an item, and all those kinds of things. However, just a disclaimer, I have never used Facebook or Instagram to log into my Truecaller. It's probably based on the mobile number that I have on Truecaller that Facebook is able to figure out that this is the profile of mine on Instagram, which is the same account as the one that Truecaller is sending data about. Let's see the next section. There is this specific ad partners. If you have your external accounts linked, from certain businesses. You would see those here. Not very relevant to us. Then there's a manage contact section. If you have your contacts synced, basically Instagram uses them to show your friends. So if, for example, if you upload a list of mobile numbers and you start seeing Instagram accounts for those people or friend suggestions for those people, it's probably one of those numbers that matches to one of the profiles on Instagram. With this small insight, do you still think that the advertisement that you were seeing was merely pure chance? Definitely not. We'll see in the ad preferences section that we're going next, where we'll see some of the topics that are there. Let's quickly jump into this. So you can see the customized ads and the ads that I saved, advertisers you saw ads from. There's this ad topic section. If I click on this, see all. In the search bar, you can add specific topics that you would want to see advertisements for. Then there are topics that Facebook has figured out by the different data points that they have, the kinds of ads that I would want to show. Let's maybe change it to frequently shown. So I've been frequently shown about fitness and exercise, calisthenics, physical exercise, educational technology, dance, karting. So you can understand that these are some of the recent things that I've been interested about. So I've been running and I've been interested in home exercises and all that. That's why I've been shown calisthenics and fitness and exercises. These are all the topics that advertisers can use to reach out to me. For example, any advertiser who is targeting people into calisthenics or fitness, it would probably show it on my profile as well. You can also choose which ad topics you want to see less ads of. You can't totally stop it, but you can see less of those. For example, let's say if I go to one of these ads, for example, digital marketing, I choose on see less, I would start seeing less of digital marketing advertisements on my feed. You can see that's a digital marketing and others. Before we go and see how all these can be solved and what are different settings that can be tweaked to make our data more private, I'll quickly go through the privacy policy and to what extent Instagram is going to willing to personalize your experience. You don't have to go through the 95-page document that's available online. I have summarized it thanks to ChatGPT. Here's the table that you see on the screen. I'll quickly go over each of these points and see the creepier part. For example, Meta collects data from user-provided content, device interaction, third-party integrations, and whatnot. It also collects data even from non-users or logged out users because these users are being tracked across different apps and websites. The second part which they talked about is data usage. It is used to personalize experiences, improve services and whatnot. They even monitor the mouse movements because they want to identify bots and potentially storing that data for every minor interaction. Which if you read the whole privacy policy, you would find the exact statement there. I'm not making this up. There's data sharing. So it shares data with integrated partners. For example, apps that are using Facebook login and advertisers. Partners can sync users' personal data without their consent, potentially exposing them to extensive surveillance across the internet. That's a huge thing. There is no policy on retention and deletion. I mean, it's very complex to delete and by default, it's not deleted, so it's being stored forever. There's also this risk of sensitive information that's being processed. For example, your religious beliefs and the kinds of advertisements that interact with creates a profile of the kind of political affiliations or religious affiliations that you might have, which could be a very privacy invasive thing. Last point where you see third-party data collection is the most creepiest of all. So data collection is not only limited to Meta platform and the Meta products, but any website that is using Facebook SDK and Facebook tracking pixel is sending data to Facebook. Even though there is an option to disconnect that I showed you previously, but there is not an option where the data is not being sent to Facebook. That data is still being processed. A profile is still being created. It's just that that data is not being used for advertisement right now, but they would still be categorized into certain profiles based on the data that's being sent and processed by Facebook servers. In the next video, I'll talk about how you can stop it, how you can stop data being sent at the source by using different kinds of extensions for Facebook and for Firefox and Chrome. We'll also talk about how you can stop this data being shared through some technologies and some open source apps, avoiding these trackers on Android and iOS. Not everything is lost. Stay with me throughout the course of this playlist and we'll see it's very easy. You don't have to be a very techie person. You just have to install some simple, freely available Chrome extension, Firefox extension and mobile apps that can help you protect data being sent to these tech giants. Before we go ahead of ourselves and talk about the next video, which is yet to be shot, I'll quickly talk about things that we'll be doing in this video that will help you gain some control over what kind of data is being shared with third party. With that said, let's come to the most important section, the manage info part. As you can see on the screen, I'll close this add topics. If you see here, there's this manage info. You can see the current settings that I have on my profile. If you want, you can take a screenshot and set the same settings to have some privacy for the data that you're being shared on Instagram through a profile. We'll go to each of these categories, and if you see here, categories used to reach you. For example, this is one where I talked about the employer, the job title, education, relationship status. All these are fetched from your Facebook profile and being used to create a profile for you. The same data is being used for all the 3 accounts that I have, the HackingSimplified account, my Facebook account, and my Instagram account. The second is the activity information from ad partners, the third-party app tracking that I talked about. For example, let's say you bought a shoe in the shop and then you enter your details such as phone number, email address and all that, and that data is being uploaded to Facebook server on the Meta business platform. That data can be used to send information or relevant information to you. For example, let's say if you bought a TV and now you might start seeing ads for Hulu and Netflix and all the other subscriptions there. You can review this setting here. I have disabled it so that I don't want to see ads relevant to this by using this information. So any third-party data that's being collected from third-party apps and being sent to Facebook, that data is not being used to target ad towards me. It could be useful for people who would want these kinds of things. For me, I don't want those data to be used to do targeted advertisement. That's why I've disabled it. The other thing that you might want to see is audience-based advertising. For example, all these companies that you see here, these are some of the advertisers that have in some way uploaded a list of my information. You can see here. And that list had some information that tied to this particular Instagram account, and that's why if they run a marketing campaign, I would see the ads for them. This is called audience-based advertising. I don't think you can opt out of it. I'm not pretty sure. So there's an option where you can opt out of it by clicking on don't allow. So basically that wouldn't allow this particular list being used to target you. You would have to do it for all the hundreds of apps that you see here, which is a pain. So you would have to go on to each of these and click and then make sure that they don't use that list to target. That's a very hard thing, I would say. Now comes another interesting section where you see ads shown by Meta. So in the previous part where we saw that the third party was sending data and now you were seeing ads on the basis of the data that was being received. In this case, all these advertisers who are using Metapixel, so they can, if you visit their website, the Metapixel would know that it's a scene and they know my profile, so they would start showing me ad based on my profile. So this is only for advertisement outside Meta platform. Anyone who's targeting Instagram ads or Facebook ads, you would still be seeing those kinds of ads. I have not allowed it because I don't want my interactions on third-party websites be based on the targeting advertisement, so I don't want that. I have disabled it. I mean, by default, it's enabled. There's a social interaction, and this is where the hair fall example I talked about. For me, I've chosen to be only me, so any kind of interaction that I do with advertisements, it's only shown to me and not to my friends. And this is not the same as you interacting with someone else's post. Like if you like your friend's post, the other friends could see it. It's not for that. It's only for advertisements that you see on Facebook and Instagram. While you see all these privacy settings, these are only applicable to the kind of advertisements that you are being shown or not. The data is still being collected and being processed by Facebook. That's what I have been trying to iterate before as well. We'll see in the next video how we can stop that. A quick note about audience-based advertising is that even if you have never interacted with their app or page or installed their, maybe went to their website, even then, if they upload a list where your data is there and that data matches the data on Facebook's database, then you are basically target list into the advertisement campaign. While these were all privacy settings, in the last 1 minute, I'll quickly wrap up the security settings that you can have on your Instagram account so that you can be sure that you are safe and no one gets into your account. Now let's quickly see the data Instagram has. I have downloaded it from the Instagram settings and we'll see some of the interesting things there. On the screen, you can see the directory structure of the different files that are available. There's this HTML file that we'll open up. On the screen now you can see the start here.html, started a local server that is basically hosting this HTML file. You can directly double click on it and see this. So these are different things that are available on this. Now I'll open a few of these on the tabs as you can see here. It shows the different advertisements that I have viewed with the date and the author, and you can see the different kinds of things. It's only the data for the past 1 year, so I've not downloaded data for the last 8-10 years that I was there on Instagram. They are the topics that I am interested based on my activity on Instagram. So you can see South Asian food, video games, dining style, Asia travel, aviation travel. So I'm very much into travel and food that you can see here. This is activity of Meta Technologies, the same thing that we saw previously. Let's see one of these apps. For example, this is Instacart, the food delivery app. When did I activate the app? The date and time is mentioned here. There are different purchases that I did. For example, the purchase activity is also logged here. There is a custom activity that's logged here. Custom could be anything. We don't know exactly what was being logged. It could be that by just seeing a particular food or something like that. Anything could be tracked in the custom thing. There's this from fever.com. I never used my Instagram or Facebook. It was just a tracking ID, and because maybe the same email was there, so they got to know about me. Page view and custom events that were being tracked. Coming to the link history, any app link that you open, and if it's open in the Instagram in-app browser, it can be tracked. Another important thing to note about in-app browsers is that any app that is opening a link in their own browser console, they can also inject JavaScript code. So be very cautious and always open the link in the default browser. That would be way more safer, or any other browser that you have. This also logs my camera information. You can see the supported SDK version, device ID, compression, all those kinds of things are there. Device ID is a unique identifier again. This was something creepy. Profile based in. The city your profile is most likely to be based in is what I was mentioned here. I blurred it out. But the point being, I have never talked about this particular city, so I'm not sure how did they get this data available. It could be my IP address, because if you see here in the section later, the devices from where secret conversations have been had, they also track my IP addresses and the devices that I've been using. For example, Mac OS X, Firefox browser, all those kinds of things. So basically, most likely it's the IP address that it has used. Another creepy thing that I found, that this particular post that I posted while I was in Turkey, I never mentioned the latitude and longitude. It got this latitude and longitude because of the camera metadata. So what I try to do is, when I'm traveling other places, I try to have location tag enabled on my camera, because it's very hard to remember which photo you took where. So it's better if I record it somewhere, and probably there's no option to see it on Instagram if I remember, but in the archive I could see the location tag as well. This is the audience thing that I was talking about. So there are hundreds of websites or companies where I went to and they had my data and they uploaded it to their Meta business platform, and now I'm on their audience list. So whenever they run an ad campaign, probably they also target me indirectly. It's very hard to get out of these. You have to go into each of these and click do not allow, do not use this list, and then that's how you get out of, as I showed you in the previous section. This was some of the interesting things that I found in my archive. Let's quickly jump over to the security settings that we have. If you go to password and security here on the Facebook account center, you would see this two-factor authentication, saved login, where you are logged in, login alerts, recent emails, security checkup. I have enabled two-factor authentication for all the accounts that I have. It's very useful because two-factor enable authentication ensures that even if your password gets stolen, the stealer needs to have the two-factor authentication code. I have it enabled on all my accounts. Definitely you should do this one. Saved login, where you are logged in, it shows where all places you are logged in. For example, if I click on my Instagram, it shows Mac and the location, and my mobile phone and the location where I was last logged in. All those things are also shown here. So if, let's say, you are suspicious that someone else is using your Instagram account, you can basically use this particular feature and also log them out from here itself. There are login alerts, so where you want to see the login alerts. For example, in Instagram, I want to have a login alerts for in-app notification as well as email. So let's say someone gets hand over my email and password that I've used on Instagram, they log into their mobile phone, I'll get a notification that someone logged into my account and also get an email for that. It would only be possible if my 2FA is not enabled, they could log into my account. Clicking on this recent email shows the recent emails that Instagram sent based on some of the security things. For example, let's say if you change the password, you would get an email. There's this security checkup. It's a very useful thing. It will just, in a summary, show the different things that I enabled on your Facebook account. For example, your password is okay, two-factor authentication is on, login alerts are on. You can click on continue and see the different settings that are. So now we conclude this video, and I'd like to ask you a question as a viewer. Do you think Are you okay with Instagram keeping tabs on you, tracking you across the internet? If the answer is no, just mentioning no would give me enough motivation that I would create the next video very soon, and that would give you some of the control in your hands to ensure that these big tech giants are not tracking you or not stealing your data without your permission and targeting you as a product. With that said, have a nice day. Thank you.